Hey, greetings everybody. Billy Khan here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Stay a while and listen to this juicy one, Orgrim and Durotan. So we are now 13 years before the Dark Portal. We are closer than we got in Chronicle 1, so we're officially making progress. Even more importantly, for those of you many episodes ago who saw me kind of plunge too far ahead, I was too rigorously trying to follow the timeline, and there were some flashbacks in the Rise of the Horde book, and I interpreted that as being when the book started. So it has changed my approach, but we did read two chapters, well, a prologue and one chapter. One was appropriately a flashback. It was why Velen and everybody, all the other Eridar future Draenei left Argus, and what happened, and it was appropriate to read at that point in time because it was what was going on. But the second one was the beginning of the friendship of Orgrim and Durotan, I believe. And that was spoiler because we're only just now talking about it. We will, when we get to right up to where we're getting close. We're 13 years away. So right when we get into that, like 1 year before the Dark Portal area, we're going to read Rise of the Horde, finish out that novel, and right when we hit year 0, right when we're about to start the Orcs and Humans game, we're going to start reading The Last Guardian. We'll probably read most of it, if not all of it, before we start the last plays, but we're getting close. Now, there's a lot of dense action coming up in this chronicle, so, we just jumped 70, 80 years to get to this point in the last chapter. That's not going to happen anymore. From this point forward, it's multiple events per year, essentially. We might jump 1 or 2 here in these last 13 years, but there's a lot of, because we're now essentially in the present. 13 years, and the present happened, in our own lives. World of Warcraft came out, 16-ish years ago, 18 years ago. So at most, we're talking about 30 years, 31 years, which this would be in my lifetime. Maybe not everybody listening, but for me, for sure. And the game years might be a little bit more condensed than that. So we're condensing the 30-something years into this. This does mark the last chapter, the last episode of this second chapter. The third one is going to start building us up to the first war, and it's going to really get us to the interactions, to the people of Draenor somehow making their way to Azeroth. All right, here we go. As the years wore on, a new balance took hold on Draenor between the orcs and the Draenei. Blood would be shed on both sides in occasional skirmishes, yet not all encounters between the two races were violent. An example of this was when 2 young orcs named Orgrim Doomhammer and Durotan crossed paths with a Draenei. So I believe Orgrim Doomhammer ends up leading the Horde. I believe he's the initial ruler of the Horde. Durotan, I think, is another very important person. Durotar, the land where the Horde capital Orgrimmar is settled in, and Orgrimmar, named after Orgrim. So those two things are just inherent, like they're just suffused with what the Horde is. One day, both of these youths would become great leaders. One day, both would change the destiny of the orc race in their own ways. Orgrim hailed from the Blackrock clan, and Durotan from the Frostwolf clan. They had met at one of the Kosharg festivals. As the clan chieftains had discussed current events and trade agreements, Orgrim and Durotan had challenged each other in feats of strength and willpower. Their rivalry had blossomed into a friendship that would last for many years to come, which we began reading already. Though friendship between members of different clans went against long-standing tradition, the Frostwolf and Blackrock elders permitted Orgrim and Durotan to maintain their bond. One summer, the youths met at the border between Frostfire Ridge and Gorgrond. They had been warned not to stray beyond this point, but Orgrim and Durotan were not orcs prone to following the rules, so I'm guessing the Doomhammer, the Blackrock clan, is located there in Gorgrond. Yeah, and they're up to the north there, and they're the sort of the builders, and the frost wolves are the ones that tame and ride the wolves over on the Frostfire Ridge. They set out into the thick forests of Terrakar, where they were attacked by an enraged Highmaul ogre. Orgrim and Durotan were strong, but they could not match the ogre's might. The brute descended on the youths, but he never had the chance to kill them. Rangari scouts had been tracking this ogre who had strayed deep into Draenei lands. The Rangari emerged from the woods and felled the brute with their arrows. The Draenei hunting party's leader, Restalon, admired Orgrim's and Durotan's bravery, yet he knew they were in great danger from other ogres who were prowling the forests. He offered a safe haven in the nearby settlement of Telmore. I wonder if this is going to be in the book, a more detailed exploration of this. Orgrim and Durotan were wary of the Draenei, but they accepted the offer. They had never been inside a Draenei settlement. Few orcs had. They were shocked by the Draenei's hospitality, but even more so by the wondrous technology and craftsmanship of Telmore. Orgrim and Durotan's arrival in Telmore was also fortuitous for the Draenei. Velen was in the city to meet with Restalon. After hearing of the two newcomers, he requested an audience with them. Of late, Velen had been experiencing strange dreams of the orcs, in which he saw them united and marching for war. In some of these visions, the prophet also saw a great shadow slowly creeping over Draenor. Due to his lingering injuries, Velen was not sure whether these premonitions had any truth to them, but he was determined to find out. While meeting with Orgrim and Durotan, Velen observed the two orcs carefully. Yet he did not find any darkness stirring in their hearts. Much to the contrary, the youths seemed proud and honest. Under Velen's orders, Rangari scouts escorted Orgrim and Durotan back to the borders of Gorgrond. Their stay in Telmore had been short, but the two youths had learned much about the Draenei. They returned home with tales of the hospitality that had been shown to them, and of the extraordinary sights they had seen. This event would mark one of the last peaceful encounters between orcs and Draenei. Oh, that's a bummer. So as leaders, I guess that would be good, but something must happen between them, because the Draenei do not join the Horde. They join the Alliance. They are strictly against the Horde for whatever reasons. And now that we're going to start having this cross-faction play, I mean, there's got to be a decent amount of hand-waving going on if something truly horrific happens between the two. We will find out in the next chapter and on the next episodes of Lore of Warcraft. This one's in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you guys and girls. See ya.